So that's how I felt with psychedelics. And finally, it just came to a point where Amber and I were at the lowest of the low. You know, I didn't even know who my kids were, barely, right, in the same house. She had to protect them. I was a mess. And it was almost like, hey, you got to figure something out. The brain cleanse didn't work. The antidepressants didn't work. The talk therapy obviously is not working. None of that stuff's working. So for me, this was a leap of faith. I trusted the individual that went down there. You know, we keep his name private for reasons that we just should.
Sure.
We promised him that forever, unless he says, hey, I want you to give me credit. But we'll wait until he says that. And then Dr. Kirk Parsley, who was working with him, and you know, they were able to get some money from a third person, Mikhail Vega, who had his own little nonprofit. And they just kind of worked it in the background to get me treated, because these are expensive. These are $2,500, $3,500, $5,000, $15,000. I mean, these are expensive treatments. You're talking about maybe doing something one and done and change you for the rest of your life. And so I finally committed on, ironically, Veterans Day in 2017. Went to this reputable retreat that had been operating for quite some time, and really didn't know what I was in for, you know. And then fast forward, let's say 72 hours later, it was a life changer. I mean, it literally felt like the weight of everything that I thought I was carrying for all those years just literally cleaned up overnight. It was wild. It was so wild because part of this was a brain thing, right? Or maybe all of it was a brain thing.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say all of it. I definitely had a lot of mental health garbage from all the childhood stuff, and then kind of all the stuff I think that, you know, we talked about earlier, some of the transition, some of the stuff I think that I dealt with in the military. And then, like I said, it all comes to a head when it all kind of hits. It's not one thing. You may have a little bit here, a little bit there, but when you put it all together, it's like a nuclear bomb. It just kind of all went away almost immediately, which is crazy to even think about, people listening to this right now. But that's how fast many of these psychedelics work.
Right.
And I just want to say right now, like, shouldn't be doing these illegally. The amount of prep and integration, like before and after, should be done correctly. You know, I feel these should be regulated. And I mean, I'm scared to death of psychedelics. You know, there's a lot of people talk about microdosing, this and that, and I have dabbled with a little bit of everything, but these are so powerful that we got to be very careful. They literally do a 180 from someone's life.
Yeah. Like,
you don't even recognize some people after, because they're so changed in a good way.
Yeah.
Right? In a good way. And so think about what can happen. Like, these can open up serious floodgates of trauma, of thoughts and instances and experiences in your life that you may have like buried in your subconscious.
Blacked out.
Totally forgot about it, siloed it, but it's affecting you every day. And those floodgates open when you're on these medicines.
Yeah.
And so if you're not prepared to handle the sexual abuse, your buddy getting killed, your mom or dad dying, your worst incident ever, you know, all those things that are affecting you, they could all flood open at one time. And if you're not ready to deal with them, that's when people get in trouble.
Right.
That's when individuals struggle really bad. And so for me, I opened up the floodgates that evening. My therapist, she's a Tibetan Buddhist philosopher, and she's been working with Ibogaine for 20 years. She slept at the foot of my bed on the floor. And she had been working with this medicine literally for 20 years with addicts, with individuals with PTSD and brain injury. And she said, Marcus, in 20 years of working with this and working with individuals, she goes, I have never seen anyone throw up and have as much struggle as you have.
Yeah.
And I kind of laughed. I said, well, do I take that as like a badge of honor? Like, did I win?
Yeah.
Did I win this competition? Or I'm always like, you know, look at this competitive nature.
I didn't fail, right?
I didn't fail, right? Like, I was like, hey, did I do well? You know, did I do good? I mean, I literally was, but it really did purge so many different things and just like woke me up. And I just couldn't wait to see Amber and hug her and say sorry and say, like, I get it. It just lifted everything off of me. And yeah, it just put me on a path of healing. And so that was in 2017. 2018, 19, I had way more ups than I did downs. The downs, you were able to climb out of a lot easier because you were able to like bounce back from the incident that, you know, the experience that you went through. And nothing happens, I shouldn't say nothing, because many individuals, it's a one and done. For me, I had to do more work. But for me, that first time was literally cleaning out the filter and the carburetor, you know?
So do you remember it pretty well?
I remember it being really dark, really evil, really bloody, really demonic. You know, it scares people when I talk about it like that, because some people are like, oh, I had the best blissful experience. And I'm like, well, F you.
Yeah.
Now I'm not going to lie. The last 2 times I did Ibogaine, they were actually blissful. They were peaceful. There were some intense moments, but I was able to handle it and deal with it. And it was more for me learning and growth and polishing versus the first time where it was like, hey, we are going to work through some shit and we're going to get you better.
Yeah.
Right. And the stuff I remember, it was just dark and black and bloody. And it was just very miserable experience. Yeah.